Welcome back to the Breakthrough Code Show. Excited to have you here again. And I want to, as always, bring guests that will challenge your ways of thinking and help you create the breakthroughs in your life, because we want you to live a life without limits. And today I have an amazing, amazing guest. I just learned about him recently, but
he's got familiar with me recently.
Yeah, but he's had a huge impact on music and beyond music, and businesses and all sorts of creative ideas, even telling us about one that you're going to launch recently out there that, you know, I can tell you're a big thinker, which always impresses me. His name is Clinton Sparks. Clinton, welcome.
Do we have any sound effects? I mean, where's the crowd, guys?
All right, you can tell he's a character,
put them in post?
Yeah. All right, so you're used to be in front of audiences. We've got two people here. Yeah. So, but welcome. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you. And before we start, I do want to make a comment. Although I'm excited and proud of your new book, I would like to say and point out that you in real life are much better looking. Which camera am I looking at? Yeah. If you look here, then look at his face. Yeah. It's better, real life, he's better looking.
That's a little postage stamp picture, so I'm not sure they saw it, but thank you for the, I think that is a compliment. I think
no, it is. You look more distinguished. I feel like in real life, I'd listen to what you have to say to me more than maybe the guy on the back of this book. Just a little bit.
Okay, good.
Just a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Well, yeah, and the book's The Breakthrough Code, and it's about, you know, how to live a life without limits. And when you have adversities, it's actually life working for you, not against you. You're not being, you know, punished or things like that. A lot of people think that way. Going back to your childhood, you didn't have the easiest childhood. Your parents were divorced when you were 4 years old. You lived primarily with your mom, and then had issues with different things, and then went to your dad to live with your dad, who was an alcoholic. So take us through your childhood. It wasn't easy. Probably it wasn't, you know, all fun and laughs, but it made you into who you are today. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, you know what's funny is, you know, you don't realize how tough things are until you've got through them, right? Yeah. So when you're a kid, you don't realize how broke you are. Yeah. You don't realize how unloved you may feel. You don't realize like the things that are supposed to be normal in your life don't exist because you never had them. They weren't normal in your life until you go out into the world and you're like, oh, I was supposed to have this. Oh, this was supposed to happen. So, you know, when I was young, me and my sister and my mom, because my dad, like you said, was an alcoholic and left, and my mom always worked 2-3 jobs to make sure we had food on the table. But, you know, we struggled. You know, we had lived in poor areas, had, you know, cockroaches in our homes, to, you know, food stamps, to, you know, I remember times going to get government cheese, stuff like that. One of our apartments flooded. I remember me and my sister were like floating around.
Thinking, this is great, we had a swimming pool now. Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, look, everybody has like tough times. Well, not everybody, but most people do.
Everybody does. It's sub-level,
and by the way, I was saying to my son recently, like, you know, I could have been shot. You could have just broke up with a girl. And who can say which is worse? We're all affected our own way from certain things. And like outside, you may say, yeah, well, you were shot. I only just broke up my girl. Yeah, but we're built different. We have different operating systems that can handle, you know, trauma in different ways. So, you know, growing up, was bullied a lot, but mostly because we were broke and didn't really have anything. Then I was sexually abused for many years in my home from like 9 to 13. So, you know, I was always lived in like black neighborhoods and, you know, went to a white Catholic school, you know, so I had a very eclectic young life where I was exposed to pretty much all that life had to offer. You know, my mom would have like gay dudes and girls living with us. Most of my mom's friends were black. So like I understood the entire world by the time I was like 10, meaning different cultures, different religions, different races, different adversities. So as I got older, unlike some other people that wasn't exposed to that, they may have trouble understanding how different communities think.
Huge benefit to you.
Especially when it comes to business. I mean, when you understand, one of the things I've learned as I got older is you're not selling a product, you're not selling a service. What you're really doing in anything that you think is selling a product or a service or a book or a course or whatever it is, you're not selling that. The only thing you're selling is a feeling. And if you understand what people need to feel you can sell anything to anybody.
Right.
If you really understand that. The trick is you can use that for good, or you can use that for evil and be on American Greed one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I, you know, fortunately, because of what I went through and realized I never wanted other people to feel the bad way that I felt, or the lonely, unloved way that I felt, insecure. So I always used my power of learning these things, which, by the way, I didn't even realize how much power I had until I got to my 30s. You know, I thought everybody thought awesome like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought everybody had great ideas. I thought everybody understood each other. I didn't know that, you know, it takes people, when you have, here's the thing, everybody has a superpower. The problem is, everybody wants somebody else's superpower so badly, they never take the time to discover their own.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize the superpowers that I possessed until I got much older in life.
Yeah. And so when you were a kid, you were into music, right? That was always been a passion for your life, and that's a lot of what you're really known for. You're a DJ, you're a songwriter, you're a record producer.
Grammy-nominated, multi-platinum, sold over 75 million records. Let's go, Tom.
See, I don't even have to do. You're and you're very shy and introverted.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I was a kid, my radio, because I was lonely, my radio was my best friend.
Yeah.
So I have a song I wrote called "Everything I Know I Learned from My Radio," and you know, when I would sit and listen to Michael Jackson, to Hall & Oates, to Prince, to the Commodores, to, you know, hip hop, Run DMC, and all that stuff, like, I'm, as a kid being lonely, I'm listening to what them telling me the world. Yeah. And then also as a kid, side note, because I didn't have any guidance around me, the other thing that helped me become back to the point of understanding your superpowers, that made me become, I hope that people look at me as a good man, is I would watch Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis type movies. And they always made me feel like, watching them, like they were the man's man, like do the right thing, keep people honest, care about your family. That's how I learned of what a man was supposed to be, from watching their characters.
Yeah, because your dad wasn't around.
Right. And then also when I was young, which carried into business and being older, is people are always like looking for answers to help them figure out, navigate their way through life. All the answers are there if you just shut up and listen. Yeah. And like, if you want to know how a girl wants to be treated, listen to what girls don't like. See why they broke up with their boyfriend. You say, oh, now I understand what I shouldn't do in a relationship. So, you know, things like that, I can go down a whole list. But as a kid, I think because of having to survive and protect myself and learning how to outwit bullies, you know, talk fast so that I wrap them up in words and I'm gone before they can even jump me.
Where'd he go?
Yeah, they're just like, wait a second. Like, they realize, I'll go around the corner. I've heard kids be like, wait, did he just say? You know what I mean? And so I learned to talk fast. I learned to think fast and act fast, then to protect myself from, you know, the person that was molesting me at nighttime and stuff. So you start learning all of these things, and then you start analyzing, why does this guy molest me? Why do these kids pick on me? And then if you really start assessing and analyzing all of these things, you start to think and realize things that you wouldn't realize about the world and other people and psychology when you care enough to wonder. Right? And do some research and think about it, as opposed to what most of the world does is, look what happened to me, woe is me. And then they allow themselves to be built by the circumstances that were their life, as opposed to building themselves by design. And I built myself by design by realizing what I want to be, and by looking at my dad and other things, what I don't want to be.
And it didn't happen right away. You said like your 30s was when you really felt your ultimate power. But, you know, a kid with those difficulties and those challenges, obviously nobody wants to go through being bullied, sexually molested. No one signs up for that. But it made you, those experiences helped make you who you are today. We're now in the music world. You mentioned, you didn't even give me a chance to mention it, that you were nominated for a Grammy for production work on Lady Gaga's Born This Way. You won awards for writing songs, a BMI Songwriting Award for Pitbull's Shut It Down. You've worked with, it seems like, everybody, you name it, particularly in the hip-hop world and rappers. How in the heck did you go from that little boy that was having all those difficulties into now you call people up, they take your call, they want to work with you, they want you to produce for them or write for them. Like, take us through that progression and what happened inside your mind, because most kids that went through that experience you went through, they're still living in that, right? You know, I say that you're under no obligation to be the exact same person you were 5 minutes ago. You definitely are proof in the pudding of that, right? You know, you left behind those parts that you didn't want, probably some pain, some old beliefs, some old ways of thinking, and you're still evolving, you're still growing. You know, you wrote a book called How to Win Big in the Music Business, which you said music probably shouldn't even be in there because it's really about business.
How to win big in life.
Yeah. But how have you grown through those things? What was the belief system you had that enabled you to not define yourself by that bullied little boy?
Well, again, I didn't realize how remarkable the ability to go through all that and then go on to excel and be successful and not be jaded or broken. Well, we're all a little bit broken, but not like, I don't go to like a psychiatrist or a therapist. I never needed help with what I went through. I just realized I went through it. It was part of life. It wasn't my fault. If anybody should feel bad, it should be the person that did the wrong to me, not me. Why am I going, what do I need help for? So that's kind of the beginning. The actual way that I went from one to the other was just always, back to my point, analyzing, assessing things around me.
You're your own therapist.
Yeah, I really was. I really would, you know, because I was alone, I would think a lot. And, you know, because you get bullied, and I'd wonder, why do they not believe in me? Or why do they say these things about me? Or why does this kid try to pick on me and stuff like that? And then I just realized everybody's lost. Nobody has the answers. Right? So why would I listen to somebody else tell me what's best for me? Why would anyone's opinion supersede my own opinion of what makes me happy or what I want to do? So I realized that very early. But still, throughout my whole teenage years, I was a stone cold criminal. Like, I robbed houses, stole cars, stuck people up, like did all types of stuff like that. But I never did it to be cool, which nowadays people brag about it and stuff. Or I never
survival probably.
It literally was survival. Like I didn't, you know, there was one night in my teenage years that when I was homeless, it was so cold in Boston, I actually reserved to the fact that I was going to die tonight. Because I was like, there's no way I'm going to survive. It's way too fucking cold. Like, and I had nowhere to go. So, you know, when you go through all of those things, and you know what's funny, man? Because the internet is so full of bullshit, right? And feeding the youth generation like lies and misleading them and making them feel like, look how fast you can become successful. You should be a multimillionaire by 19 with passive income, hanging out on the beach, making $100,000 a week.
And if you're not, you feel like a loser now.
Totally, right? And it's all bullshit, man. And it's like, I wish there was more people out there telling everybody, stop. Pay attention to the messenger, not the message. Because the messenger that's telling you this, one, probably hasn't even fucking done what he's telling you what to do. Two, is probably a piece of shit and did a lot of dumb shit in the past, right? And it's like, so all that type of stuff, like you're listening to lies and then you're setting up unrealistic expectations for yourself or demands on yourself that nobody can, look at, I had to get to my 30s to realize I wasn't until my 20s. So in my 20s, I was still robbing and stealing up until about 19, 20. I still didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was a loser, right? And not because I chose to be. I didn't know I was a loser. You know what I mean? So I had robbed a couple snowblowers, and I hid them behind my girl's garage. And her dad, who I really respected and admired because he looked like a man's man, took care of his family, was a really cool guy. I never really had a guy whose opinion mattered to me, right? And then she called me one day and was like, my dad found your snowblowers and said you're a loser. And it hit me. Like I've never, you know, teachers would say things that, but it was just like, I grew such thick skin of people talking shit to me that it didn't affect me. And nobody's opinion really mattered. But so he was the first guy I really like loved and admired and respected. When he said I was a loser, it literally changed my life the next day. went and looked in the paper for a job like people used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
And I seen UPS was hiring.
Yeah.
So I went and got a job at UPS and changed my life around. I literally went from overnight. And you know, the more times I do interviews and stuff like that, the more I realize even more, and this sounds like pompous, but the more remarkable my story is, because I realize how many times I was able to just take a sharp left and not look back. And I realized dealing with people, because you know, I deal with assholes all the time, right? And like, they ask you, how do you do this? You tell them you spend so many hours, they still keep doing the dumb shit that they were doing. And it's like, I don't understand why it's so hard when someone realizes this is what's going wrong with me. I'm not finding happy here. I'm always getting bad results. People don't like me because of me doing this. And why it's so hard for them to just say, oh, let me make some adjustments. I never understood that. But I'm going on a tangent now.
But you said something really important. And I think especially here, we're in California, which you and I both live in. I live down south. Everybody is putting on a show. I mean, not everybody, but so many people are putting on a show. They're spending more than they, you know, even make. You know, they're putting so much financial pressure on themselves to show that I've made it. I made it. Look at me. You know, I'm driving this. Look at the car I'm driving. Look at where I live. Look at all the things that I have. And you're right. And then they're advising other people, because other people look at the bling, you know, the car and the bling. They go, oh yeah, I want that. But you know, it's such a false narrative, because they're hanging on by a thread, and they're scared out of their mind, even though they're the
new hustle. The new hustle is people that haven't made it trying to teach other people how to make it, right? Or I mean, look how many people are online, like fake life gurus and life coaches, and pumping you up with fake inspiration and trying to motivate you to do stuff. And now everybody has game to give now. Everyone's giving, if you do this, you'll be able to improve your life. It's like, man, your fucking life is fucked up. What are you talking about? So it's like, that's what I mean when I say pay attention to the messenger, not the message. Anybody can regurgitate something that somebody successful has done, or read something on the internet and pass it off as their own. And like, that's what I mean by the internet lies to us all day. It's like, there was a time when I was a kid, the only person that we all knew, at least the majority mainstream, that was a guy that cared about helping other people, was only Tony Robbins. That was it, right? Now helping and coaching and writing books and courses, it's the new hustle. And like, how's a 24-year-old gonna tell me about how to do all these things? Sure, maybe you figured out a way to virally make money or sell something on Amazon, and you understood digital marketing faster because you're young and it's something you grew up in, but you still haven't had enough time to experience when to pivot, how to control your emotions, how to deal with these different personalities. When you get knocked down to the ground, how do you get back up and still keep winning? Like, you're not even old enough to even understand these things. So when you get an 18-year-old listening to a 22-year-old who looks like he's got a Lamborghini and a money phone and all these things online, like, I want to do like that, to your point, everybody out here is living up to this unrealistic expectations that somebody at some point felt like this is what we all have to do to qualify as being successful. And I was telling my son the other day, like, success doesn't have one definition. It doesn't mean like, oh, you just made a shit ton of money, or you got the best job, or you built the biggest company. You could live in a car and be the happiest guy ever, eating off the land. Like, if that's success to you and you're happy, happy is success. Whatever makes you happy.
And I don't want to totally trash young people, because you know, I was involved in running Tony Robbins' company in my 20s, and he was a little bit older than me, and he was in his 20s, right, when he first started. But you're right. He wasn't just doing it to make money and to hustle. He was coming from his heart. And
you can tell.
And he was still learning, right? I mean, he's evolved since then, and what he teaches now is probably more profound than what he was able to teach back then, just like you and I and the rest of us. But one thing that always was important to me was to listen to what people say, but then are they really doing it? Like, is this something they're really doing? And there's a lot of, unfortunately, false prophets. And I'll say this, though, none of us are perfect. I don't care who you are. We all make mistakes, and we say things that we do, and hopefully we do them a majority of the time, but we might slip up and not do them. So
well, that's human.
Yeah, we're human, exactly. So I don't want to totally trash people, but just beware. You brought it up, and And you know, sometimes we are following false prophets, and then we end up, you know, why is this not working for me?
Or some guy invested in 60 companies, and one happened to become Twitter, and now he's out here like, I was an early investor in Twitter, and now you should follow all of my leads, and I know what I'm talking about in business, and da-da-da. It's like, dude, you got lucky because your boy told you to invest, and you came up. Just keep it real. And that's the problem. Like, no one keeps it real. The one thing you'll get from me all the time, I'll tell you what I did wrong. I'll tell you what I did right. I don't hide anything from me. I've already 8-miled the game. I Eminem the game. I already told you everything bad about me and what I've done, so there's no dirt to find.
Yeah, you sold snowblowers, for God's sakes,
dude,
right?
I've done it all, man. Like, and I wasn't proud of it. And by the way, coming up in hip hop, if I told people how much of a thug I was, I probably would have got more street cred.
Yeah.
But I wasn't proud of it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People are out here gloating and promoting things they shouldn't be proud of in the first place.
Yeah.
Just keep it real. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to not understand what you're where to go. It's okay to not be successful yet. It's okay to be lonely. It's okay to not have all the answers. But everybody feels like they have to have it, and therefore they'll never get it because they're not taking the time to go actually find it. Instead, they're spending that time on trying to prove you that they have it when they don't.
Yeah. No, and you'll never have all the answers. I mean, I think I want to keep growing and learning and getting better till the day I take my last breath. I'm 62 years old now, and I want to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. And you know, financially, you know, you can say I've made it, right? I've been married 31 years. I have 2 great kids. Your son is here. What a sharp young man he is, which is a credit to you and his mom too. But yeah, I mean, the minute you think that you've made it, it's a dangerous slope you start sliding back down, because life will kick you in the ass and just remind you, hey, you got more to learn.
See, I don't necessarily agree with that, because it depends what your definition is of made it. Because mine was, so there's 2 things I'll tell you. One is I finally built the life and the family I always wanted. So I made it. I always wanted a family that was full of love, that was healthy, that cared about each other, because I never felt that growing up. So like, if I had the choice of being, a lonely prick that had a lot of money, or, you know, a regular guy that's got a loving family, I'll take the loving family. And then on the other thing too is, when I was young, since I was 12, the 2 things I cared about the most was never money, never success, none of that. It was always, I cared about one day being a good father, and then 2, making people happy. Yeah. And
same for me. Yeah.
Right. So, and I travel a lot, being a DJ around the world at the time, and I was flying home, and I calling my son. My son's been my best friend since he's been born. Yeah. So I call him and I say, hey man, I'm coming home this Thursday, you know, yay dad, and you know, we're gonna hang out and do all these types of things, and we're always talking about the fun things we're gonna do. And I was like, hey dude, what do you miss about me most when I'm gone? And he took a second and thought about it, and he says, you know, Dad, you just make everything happy. And in that one moment, my 2 goals were accomplished. Being a great dad and making people happy. I was making the most important person in my life happy, and being a good dad. So like, look, I work because money's great, right? We all want to make more money. We want to protect and make sure our family's okay. And when we're gone, everybody's safe and we're not struggling. If we want to go get something to eat up the street, we can, right? And we work hard for that, and we deserve it because of the work we put in. However, I do the things that I do from the businesses that I build and the things that I become a part of. It's weird because money isn't the main driver for me. It's always, how can I innovate? How can I help elevate? How can I connect culture? How can I help communities get involved with things that they otherwise wouldn't be involved with, which is what I've done with Xset, my lifestyle gaming brand. And, you know, the money is like, oh, and by the way, we can make a lot of money.
Because you're adding a lot of value.
Right. So like, I get excited by the action and the journey of building something great. Yeah. That I know that my lifetime of skills is I have a certain special set of skills that I know I can do this differently than anybody else. And then I can show other people how to do it, how I've done it. So that's the stuff that gets me excited.
Yeah. And there are people that their only intention in business is to make money, and some of them make a lot of money, but they're usually not as fulfilled as when you start a business because you want to add tremendous value. You want it to really impact people. And then as a byproduct is what you said, you make a lot of money, right? Very fulfilling. I know for me, when I was at a job with a Wall Street firm, was my first job out of college, and I was making great money. And I'm 20. I was the youngest the firm had ever hired. I had a couple houses already. I was making good money, but I was not fulfilled. And then I moved to California, helped Tony Robbins and his company, and then have been in this industry for a long, long time. And, it sometimes is tempting, maybe I should go, just work with a tech company but I've made plenty of money, but it never was the focus. Like you said, it was just passion for helping people. And it just feels good. The money feels better. I have a friend who wrote a book called Happy Money. Yeah. And he said, you can open your wallet. He's one of the best-selling authors in Japan, actually. His name's Ken Honda. And he said, you open your wallet, and you either have happy money or you have money that's not so happy. And my money's happy because I made it doing something I really love.
I love that. Yeah. One of the biggest traps that society, especially, I'm not harping on the young, but that one of the biggest traps I think that people fall for is thinking that money is where happiness lives. And that the more money they have, the more happy they'll be, the more problems they can pay off. And it's not true. And if you care more about money than building a strong reputation or a stellar business, you'll always be chasing money. But if you care more about building a great business and building a strong reputation, the money will chase you. And a lot of people don't realize that, and they just constantly chase the money. And what they don't realize too is part of the trap is even when you get it, you'll always want more. So it never ends.
It's never enough,
if money's the goal.
Yeah, because now you have a bigger yacht you want to buy, or
well, now you're around a different group of people that has money. So now you leveled up. So now you're competing with them. And now I need more money so I can beat them with the yacht and whatnot. Then you level up to another group of people. Now this guy's got a helicopter. Now I need a helicopter in my house. So it never ends.
Well, that's the thing too. It's not a competition, and we think it is. It's a status thing. It's a prestige thing. I always told my kids growing up, I said they were athletes, and one was ended up being a college basketball player. The other one was an All-American soccer player on the USA team, played at UCLA.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you. But what I always told them, I said, you don't have to be better than somebody else, but be the best you can be. And so we had two rules. We said, if you're going to play, and we're going to take you to all these practices and go to games and all, make those investments, I said, you got to do your best, and you got to have fun. And they did, and they really, had a lot of fun, and they went out and competed. And by doing that, they became one of the best.
Right.
The other thing I want to say too is, and I think this is probably true for you, you've done incredibly well. I've had lots of successes, but to me, because I didn't have a dad growing up. My dad passed away when I was very young in the Vietnam War. And, my number one thing was my kids, I want to be a great dad, just like you said. And there were times where I know I could have put more energy and effort into my work and probably made more money at that time when my kids were growing up, but I would go to their games, right? I enjoyed going to their practices and watching them. And I couldn't do it all the time because I was traveling a lot, but that was just so fulfilling. That was worth more than money to me back then too. And I'm sure same thing for you.
I mean, dude, I could perform in front of 20,000 people and they could be chanting my name, jumping up and down. It wasn't as fulfilling as Daddy when I would come home.
Dad's home. Yeah, I still remember one time, and it was actually just coming home from my office, but my daughter was like 3 years old, and I'm coming up the stairs and I hear, Mom, Dad's home. My wife's like, yeah, okay. It's not a big deal, honey. But little kids, and you've got little ones now, right?
Yeah. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old
son, and then a 3 and a 1-year-old. That's just so magical. That age, they're so excited about everything.
Right.
And you're their hero, and
well, we'll see.
Yeah. So let's talk about business. So. One of your chapters in your book was having too many goals is worse than not having enough, right? Or something like that? Or?
The only thing worse than having no goals is having too many goals.
Yeah, so talk about that.
Yeah, so, you know, back to the youth generation, everybody feels like they have to be doing so many things to show why their validity. Like, I do this and I do that and I do this, because they feel in their minds that you're going to be like, oh my God, this person's incredible. Look at all that they do. And I suffered from that too, because I also suffered from the, hey, look, Dad, I hit a home run syndrome, you know, because I didn't have a dad. So I always feel like I'm trying to prove myself, whether it's to a boss, whether it's to a partner, and I'm always trying to show why you should care about me, right? Because I didn't feel cared about as a kid. So I think, you know, society suffers from that, whether you have a dad or not, because of the internet and because of all the lies that we're being told. And they're so unfocused on just doing the one thing great. And then, you know, an example I always use, I'm not sure if your audience will get this completely, but, you know, Kanye West, for instance, probably a weird example for now, but like, you know, Kanye West came out and was awesome at the one thing he was awesome at. Pharrell, another person, awesome at the one thing he was awesome at. Then they branched off and did fashion. Then they branched off and did another sounding kind of music, right? And like most people try to do is too many things at once at the beginning.
Before you get great at one.
That you can't even, like, no one even knows what to grasp onto. Like, what are you? Just like a clusterfuck of what the fuck. I don't even know who you are, what you're doing, why I should care, what I'm supposed to think about or feel when I see you. And people, and I suffered from this when I was young too, and I'm like, I do so many great things, you guys should think I'm awesome. Look how many great things I do. How am I not that awesome? And it wasn't. People can't compute. Like, we just want to watch Michael Jordan play basketball. Get off the baseball diamond. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we want to look at you as. So you need to conquer this thing, and the reason and the benefit of conquering one thing really well before you move on, because if you do it at the beginning, you're confusing. You're all over the place. We don't trust you or your mind, because you are not even aware of the fact that you're all over the place. Therefore, we don't want to do business with you. However, if you dominate at one thing, and then you show I can do this too, now you're a genius. Now they're like, holy shit, you can do that too? I didn't know you could do all that. So that's what, it's really important that when you're trying to get people, trying to get something off the ground or trying to build yourself as a brand or whatever, is that you focus on the one thing that makes you remarkable. I'm not saying you can't be behind the scenes setting up and building the business structure to launch 5 more missiles when all that works out, but stop telling me everything. The one thing that I see the most when someone comes up to me after I speak or whatever I am, it's always like, yeah, you know, I'm an artist and I manage this and I got a cannabis company and I'm doing this thing and I run this management and I got digital marketing and I got da-da-da.
Like, and I got you're not going to be that successful.
I got a clothing line and yo, I'm putting out 2 different albums under 2 aliases, and then I'm like, what? What? I have a headache. Just here, like, go away. You know, I don't even want to know who you are. Do you know what I'm saying? It's too much. You have to distill that down to the thing that you think would be the front runner at making you be your best and people recognize you, and then you can branch out. Absolutely. Like you said, what do you say? Do less and then obsess.
Focus on less and then obsess. And when I go speak, I carry around, I actually have them in my bag, so I've got a little flashlight and I've got a laser pointer. They both run on the same amount of battery and energy. But a laser, I actually have a laser pointer that can you know, go like a mile out in and you can still see it go. The flashlight will dissipate very quickly. They're both light. One is focused light. One is kind of, you know, light that kind of diffuses. No, that's a good
analogy.
Tries to light up too much energy.
That's a good analogy. And in my new book that just came out, 10 Traits That Made Me Millions in the Music Industry, one of the things I talk about is you must brand before you expand, which is similar to yours.
Good. I like that. Brand before you expand. Good. You got some good little catchphrases there.
Oh, I might already have a coffee book of quotes coming. If you look at my books, this is hundreds of Clinton quotes.
So another thing that we talk about is a story. The story of who we are really determines what we see, what we're able to do. And we say to move forward, you have to upgrade your story. Just like, you know, we want to upgrade our software, we want to upgrade our phone, we want to upgrade our life. But the way your life gets upgraded is by upgrading your story, because you're only capable of doing what you tell yourself you can do. You know, we say the most powerful story ever told is the one you tell yourself. How have you upgraded your story over the course of your life? What new thoughts, what new belief systems have you noticed as you've gone through your continual learning and growth that have enabled you to continue to think bigger and expand? Like, what do you tell yourself, or what's running in that software in your mind?
Well, I wouldn't say I upgraded my story. I think the story unravels as you live. I upgraded my operating system on how I receive the information as my story is evolving. So maybe something I wouldn't have listened to, I'm listening to it differently, or I'm receiving it differently, or now I know how to communicate differently with that type of person. So, you know, one of the things I've always found odd, and I'm a victim of it too, so when I say this, don't think I'm perfect, but like, if you're having the same argument with your wife over and over again, and you're frustrated banging your head against the wall saying, why won't you just change? Why don't you just listen? Why you? Why you? Why you? At some point, you got to look back at yourself, like, who's really the idiot here? Mm-hmm. Like, the one that recognizes what's wrong or claims that he's smart enough to get what needs to change to make this work and is only looking at that person to make the change?
Yeah.
So if you want to be a leader, whether it's in a company, in your family, or wherever it is, you need to be the one that accepts responsibility for why something's not working. And if you're smart enough to see that there's something they're doing wrong, then maybe you need to change the way you communicate with them so they don't respond the way that they're responding in a way that you're claiming is wrong.
Yeah.
So it's really upgrading my operating system is just listening. You know how you went.
But your operating system really is your story, because we all have the operating system of our mind. We all have this mind. The programming, it's like the software on it.
Right.
Right. That's not the operating system, but and what you're telling us is such a beautiful story. Like, you know, you've figured out, hey, if I'm always the one complaining, then I have to look at myself. That's actually a story. And that's a valuable story for people to tell themselves, because most people are still have the programming that, you know, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
Right. And we're all wrong.
Yeah, well, because we all have different ways of looking at it, right? We're all right in our own mind, and we're wrong in someone else's mind, potentially. So understanding that we're all coming from different stories is probably pretty valuable. That's why even the political system now here in the U.S., where it's so fractured and divided, and you're like, how could somebody think that way? Totally. Like, what is wrong with it? Well, they've got a story. It's not their operating system. Their operating system could take on a different story, because we do change. Like, I just had a salad and I had avocado on it. And growing up, I would hate avocado.
Yeah,
like,
same.
oh my God, you know, I love it.
Yeah,
right?
same.
Yeah. And my operating system now.
But that's upgrading. Yeah. That's upgrading to my point. Yeah. Upgrading your operating system to realize part of the reason you didn't just all of a sudden like it. You liked it because your operating system upgraded as an adult to think, there's health benefits to this. There's other reasons why to do these things. So to me, it's upgrading your software, your operating system, whatever it is, to realize the things that you need to change and adapt and pivot to the things that you're now being.
So we're saying the same thing, but that's your story. Yeah, your operating system is your story. All right, All right, great. Hey, we're going to start winding it up now, but you've dropped some just amazing wisdom on people, and plus just your energy is infectious.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I love it. I love the chains. I love your vibe. I love, you know, everything you're about.
Thank you very much.
You have a lot of fun. But
wait, do you like the sweater?
The sweater. Actually,
I didn't think you would. You want to know why? I'm going to tell you why you don't like it. This is my mother-in-law's sweater. You would not wear this sweater. So I seen it in the laundry room. I was like, oh, it's comfortable. I'm going to put that on.
And you have the self-esteem to wear it. So I love that about you, right? You know, you're not worried about people judging you. But give us one last, if you could tell people one thing that from your experiences or from your belief systems that could really help them moving forward in business, but not even just in business, in life, you know, to have more fulfilling, successful, happy life, what would it be?
Wow. That would be a book. To give that answer, and
you get one thing.
Yeah, it's so weird. You know, you get asked this question. I'm sure you.
And
do
I know
interviews.
there's a million things, but if you could pick one for us, what would it be?
Oh man, fuck.
You're lost for words.
Well, only because it depends who you're talking to. Everybody has a different story. Everybody.
Okay, let's go back to if you were to talk to that young man that you were that was really struggling and was lonely and was looking for answers, what would you tell him now?
That it's not your fault.
Okay.
And that it's not a long journey to healing. Mm-hmm. It's mainly it's merely a decision that only you can make.
Yeah.
So you can sit there and dwell in misery, blame yourself, self-pity, or you can decide, I'm not going to do. I'm about to go do some dope shit, and then go out and do it. So just be dope.
Yeah. All right. Be dope.
Everything you do,
dope. Yeah.
how you treat people, how you communicate, how you follow up, your health, all of that. You know what? I'll tell you what the number one thing I'll say.
Yeah.
Actually give a shit.
Okay.
That's the thing that people don't do the most.
Yeah.
They don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
They're just doing it because they're told to. They think they're going to get rich because they just feel like everybody else is doing it. Like, I actually give a shit about things that I do and the people that I work with and who I'm around. I give a shit about Tom McCarthy.
I love it. And I'll paraphrase that, you know, in my language is like, put your heart in it, right? Put your heart in it. Yeah, care.
Care about others.
I love it. Yeah. See, now you're cleaning it up. You got the
Wait, is this a clean show? Is your guy over there like, I'm just writing down the numbers to beep it out?
It's all good, man. You're you. I love it.
I mean, that's another thing too, is like another answer. Yeah, be the first you and not the second somebody else. It's like, by the way, I don't do this to get a shock value or anything. I'm from Boston, so my passion, I'm never angry, it's passionate.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the type of guy that's like, I'm in your face because I want you to win. And I see you're messing up, bro. Stop.
Yeah.
So even in the book, in the foreword, I say, I'm going to teach you how to do more dope shit and less whack shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Okay, good. Yeah. You had to end with that. After you cleaned your image up, you had to end with that. That's beautiful. Hey, Clinton, thanks so much for being with us. It's been awesome. And thank you also for bringing your amazing son. It's been an honor meeting him. And thank you all for tuning in, and come back and see us again. Really great having you. Thanks so much.